What's going on everyone, Mike here, and in this video we're taking a detailed look at the Samsung Galaxy Tab 3 7.0, or in other words, the most affordable tablet Samsung has to offer right now. With a start price of $199, this aims at a rather crowded segment, with competitors like the Nexus 7 or the Kindle Fire HD. But how does it stand next to those, and is it worth buying? Well, that you'll find out from this review, so let's get started. Samsung brought their 7-incher up to date with their latest design, and that's why the new Tab 3 7.0 looks a lot like all the other Samsung devices I've tested recently. But that's not a bad thing. We have the wide version of the Slate here, with a wide bezel around the screen and a wide back, while the sides are made from some silver plastic. In fact, plastic is used for the entire case, and as a result, this tab doesn't exactly feel very premium. On top of that, the case is prone to scratches and smudges, so you'll probably want to get a protective cover for this tablet. On the other hand, the plastic exterior is grippy and the device looks good, all the parts joining together in a perfectly milled slate. One that lost weight from the previous generation, as it is now both more compact and lighter as well. Because of that, you can comfortably hold the new tab with only one hand while operating it with the other, either in portrait or in landscape mode. Around the sides you'll find all the standard ports and connectors, with the power button and the volume rocker on the right edge, the headphone jack on top, the microSD card reader on the left, and the USB port at the bottom that supports MHL video output and USB on the go. There's also a set of speakers down here, but more about these later. Oh, and some version of this Slate bundle an IR blaster as well, mine does not. And since there's a cellular option of the tab as well, that one will feature a SIM slot. The front face is once again pretty standard for a 2013 Samsung device. The screen covers most of it, as the bezel is fairly slim, but it can be shrunk even further. On top sits the front-facing camera and a bunch of sensors, while on the bottom we have the physical home button and the capacitive menu and back controls. They don't fade away like on the other Samsung gadgets, they are permanent. The screen itself is not impressive, but it's not bad either. We have a TFT panel here, quite bright and capable of displaying rich colors and deep blacks. The viewing angles are fairly good, and in strong light, the glass on top of the display will cause some pesky reflections. Still, there is one annoying detail about this screen: it's not very sharp. In fact, the 1024 by 600 pixel resolution is too low these days on a 7-incher, and you'll mostly find this bothering when reading texts, especially if you're already used to high-density screens on your other devices. You can live with that and get used to it in the end, but since other manufacturers are offering HD screens on even cheaper slates, Samsung should have done so as well on their new tab. Not much has changed in terms of hardware on this 3rd generation Samsung tablet either. The dual-core processor powering it is definitely not a performer, but it will do the job. It's paired with 1GB of RAM and 8 or 16GB of storage, plus up to 64GB microSD cards. If you plan on getting the 8GB version of the Slate, you should know that only about 5.3GB are available for apps, and that might quickly prove insufficient. Anyway, I was mentioning that the hardware is not going to win any races, and as a result the Tab 3 7.0 won't impress with its benchmark results either, if that's something you care about. I for one don't. I'm mostly interested in how a certain device performs in everyday use. And the tab is not bad, but it fails to step in front of the crowd. Like I said already, there are quite a few good under $200 tablets available these days in stores. And this one, well, it's really not different in any way from the majority of the others. It will handle most everyday tasks well, from browsing to editing texts, listening to music or watching videos. It will multitask between all these two, and it will run games. But you'll have to be patient with it. There's occasional stuttering and delay in reacting to your taps, and on top of that, some complex applications, for instance games like GTA Vice City, will hardly run smoothly on it, if at all. But at the end of the day, you're getting what you're paying for, not much, not less. The tablet runs Android 4.1.2. So not the latest version of the OS, and as a result it lacks some features like the lock screen widgets for instance, but that shouldn't really bother you much. Of course, TouchWiz is present with all its tweaks and extras. The swipe lock screen is here, the familiar interface and themes, the notification panel with a set of customizable toggles on top, and the complex task manager that allows you to easily see what's running on the Slate and how much memory and storage space is available at any given time. The Tab 3 7.0 is also bundled with a few apps, but only a handful of them. And there's no multi-window mode, which is a pity, but given the low resolution of this device, it wouldn't have been very useful anyway. However, you should know that you can use the Slate both in portrait and landscape modes, and the entire interface will rotate accordingly. But let's turn our attention on some other aspects of this tablet. For instance, the cameras. The interface is pretty standard for an Android device and lacks all the extras we've seen on recent Galaxy handsets, like modes or filters. But you still have a fair amount of options to choose from. The tab comes with a front shooter for video calls that can take alright clips, as you can see here. And the 3-megapixel main camera on the back without flash. The results are decent but far from great. Still, you should judge them by yourself and let me know what you think about in the comments below. Besides that, I should also mention the speakers, able to output punchy and fairly good quality sound, but rather inconveniently placed, and that's because you can easily cover them with your hand when using the tablet in landscape mode. It's also worth mentioning that some version of this tab will include cellular connectivity, and on top of that will offer support for voice calls. It's not a unique feature, but it's something you're not getting with most 7-inch slates. And then there's the battery life. The 3rd generation 7-inch Galaxy Tab bundles a 4000 mAh battery, the non-removable kind. In practice, that translates in between 5 to 8 hours of everyday use, or in other words, enough to get you through the day. Once again, pretty much standard results for this class. In fact, if you'll draw the line and try to sum up what makes the Tab 3 7.0 stand out from its competitors, you'll see that there's really nothing in particular you could put on paper. Except for the aesthetics though, as the tab is very nicely built and I do find it more appealing than most other 7-inchers available these days, but more fragile as well. It fails to impress however when it comes to features, performances and even screen quality. But don't forget that this slate starts at $199, and in this price range you shouldn't really look for fancy features, you should however look for products with no deal breakers. And the Samsung Galaxy Tab 3 7.0 is one of those, as there's really nothing in particular that can clearly steer you away from it. So at the end of the day, you're not going to regret picking a 3rd generation Galaxy Tab 7 if you're looking at an inexpensive tablet. But at the same time, I can't say this one is going to be the ideal pick for each and every one of you. And that's because the tab has to face strong competitors, from known brands and white label manufacturers as well. But more about those in some future clips. For now, it's time to wrap this up. Thank you for watching and don't forget to hit the thumbs up button and share the video if you enjoyed it. I'll catch you later, but before you go, let me know what you think about the tab in the comments below. Is this something you would buy? And are there any better alternatives out there?